want to lose somebody with 10 years experience.
No. And the majority of people who are going out, they've got 30-plus years within the
Okay,
system.
so this is really targeting the people who have a lot more time.
Right. This is targeting people that have been heavily considering retirement already, have probably gone to our retirement seminars, really have an understanding and idea of what they're doing. And instead of waiting for them to notify us in May, June, July, where then we're struggling because we don't have candidates, moving it forward 3 or 4 months allows us to go out and be ahead of the curve with pulling people in. It also gives us a much better ability to forecast what we anticipate our salary costs are going to be in the following year, because we build actual to actual. So, if we know that we have an exiting teacher who's at top of scale making $86,000, $87,000 a year, and we know that they're going to retire, we're going to bring in somebody on average is going to be 65. It allows us to forecast with a greater amount of accuracy what our salary costs are going to be year to year.
Let's talk about this healthcare holiday. We did this last year, if I remember correctly.
Yes, we did.
And I really appreciate all that you've done to try to get your costs and bring costs under control, and simultaneously to the county and the sheriff for all being in the same boat of trying to find better ways to save money. And simultaneously, corporations are doing the same thing as exponentially costs rise on one side, benefits are fluctuating, and I can tell you, going through the corporate maze right now at my place, it's we've saved a lot of money, but it doesn't mean that things aren't getting readjusted to, meet certain perks, and we appreciate that. I will look back, though, and say I've been sitting here for a while, and there have been years where the healthcare costs exceed what's been put in, and the county goes through the fin, and we pay it back to a lot for those costs. So some years are good, some years are bad. So we did the healthcare holiday last year, and I accepted that. I have a hard time this year going back with everyone working hard to achieve healthcare savings across the board, that we're going to do this again. So like I said, I can agree with most of these budget adjustments, but the $1.5 million to do it again, it seems like we did our best last year to ensure that the negotiated agreement was met. And we met, it was obviously some controversy, but we made sure that you got the negotiated agreement. It just seems now we're throwing another little perk in. And I recognize that the employees have paid, and there's healthcare savings across the board, not only for the school system, but for the county employees, for everybody. I just see this as a little bit onerous, and I'd be opposed to the $1.5 million healthcare holiday. That money can probably be spent better places inside the system than going back and, giving everybody 2 months of free, their contribution to the healthcare.
I would have the reverse, because I would say to you, the reason you got that savings is because people really took it seriously, and they saw the benefit of that. The other thing is you've gone from 85-15 to 80-20.
80-20, right.
I mean, these people have given. So I think it's totally normal that when people, through their actions, create a savings.
Right.
I mean, you're talking 3.5. You're not talking about giving it all to them.
No.
So it just seems to be normal for the people who save the money that they would get some kind of benefit from it somehow. It's not the whole 3.5, it's only 1.5.
I think the benefit came from the negotiated agreement, because this was a give and take. This was about a pay scale, it was about pay increases, and it was about going to that portion of the 80-20 in order to get what the needs that they wanted during the negotiated agreement. So, I mean, to me, that's water under the bridge at this point. The feedback I've gotten is that this is taxpayer money that has gone into the system, and it needs to be used for other incentives. Within, not incentives, but so much either structural projects or books or whatever else it may be, but not this. Actually, a lot of people are pretty outraged about it. And then I looked at our history here, and we take the money back from our healthcare savings and put it back into the fund to be used. So, or we use it to reduce rates overall. So, I mean, that's just the feedback I'm hearing and what I'm looking at. Sorry, I'm reading my notes.
So my concern is the negotiated agreement, which has been mentioned. I'm very concerned about always meeting that negotiated agreement, but this healthcare holiday is not something that's negotiated as part of the agreement, correct?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. No. So not giving the healthcare holiday in no way infringes upon the negotiated.
No, absolutely
Okay.
not. This is
Okay.
this is above and beyond.
Okay.
And it's it was offered last year, it's proposed to be offered this year as a recognition to staff, because over 90% of our budgets we presented last week are people. And how you treat people is how your organization moves forward. If you treat them as expendable, if you treat them as though you're concerned with this as opposed to, I mean that's reflected in the overall attitudes of the people. We moved to an 80-20 split for triple option, so we increased by 5% their contribution care. So, understanding that, we also said there's going to be offsets. We're going to be talking about education. We're going to be moving from triple option to HMO. We're going to be looking at all of this. This money in particular, this rebate money that we cannot count on because we don't, I can't build it explicitly into the budget every single year. If we did and it happened, great. If we did and it didn't happen, that would be quite a hole. So this is extra money. So whatever we're going to spend it on is going to be one-time money. Recognizing that the employees have gone from a 15% share to a 20% share, and we recognize that that is an extremely generous healthcare package when you compare it to the wider world and to industry and to all the other people in St. Mary's County. That's fantastic. But we want to have some measure to reinforce the extremely good choices that they're making with their health care. They're not going to the emergency room. They're going to their doctor. If they don't need to go to the doctor, they're going to urgent care. We've talked about the prices for all of that. And more importantly, this is a pharmaceutical rebate. They had gone everywhere. They're now going to CVS and CVS at Target, and they're going with less costly fills for their prescription. All things that they didn't necessarily have to do until we move forward with this. We feel very strongly that we need to recognize our employees for their very wise choices and build it back in. The number comes from taking a look at what ultimately it would be for January and February. I mean, we can agree to disagree on how we interact with our employees, but I do believe that if through their good efforts, the county, the school system sees a benefit back, the extent to which we then share is reinforcing year to year to year.
Is this 1.5 million? Is this calculated by the 20% that the employees paid in?
Yes.
It's all in that 20%.
So
It's not included in the 80% that the state county paid, what you paid.
No, the 1.5 million would go to their contribution.
No, goes for contribution,
Right,
but
of their
is it
20%.
calculated from the 20% that they paid in?
So if we actually did the math and calculated out what the 2 months would be, it would be less than 20% with the offset. I don't know the exact amount.
I think it's
I
also.
think I get what Commissioner Guy is saying, is just to put them back at 15% versus 20% outside of what was negotiated on top in the agreement. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
No, this 1.5 million, is this, this money, is it all, this is the money that the teacher, every individual paid into the fund? No, your teachers only paid 20%, and you, in the county or the state, pays the other 80%.
Right, we pay the 80, right.
Right. So is this 1.5 million, is this generated just from the 20% they paid?
Well, so, I mean, the money's coming from a rebate that's not.
I understand that rebate, but then I feel that if they only paid 20%, they should only get 20% of it, at the most. That's all they paid.
Right, so I think if you calculate that out, they're getting more than 20% of the rebate that's coming back. I think I follow where you're.
Yeah, I'm just saying this,
Yes.
what would be, to me, would be fair, if you want to do this kind of holiday or whatever rebate, it should be only what I paid into it. If I'd have an $800 policy per month, I only paid 20%, which would be $1,660, then I should only receive that amount back, not the other $640. If that's what I'm not sure what everybody pays. I'm sure they're different, depending on what plan they choose. But this holiday, I object to the paying that other 80%.
Okay.
That should remain within your funds to be used for.
I see where you're going with it. I mean, along the similar lines, I was there, I was looking at it,
I don't
the
want to
fact
change
that,
the formula you have now, I'm just looking at this holiday health insurance. Is this, I know it's a lump sum you got back, but are we giving back to our people
A
the
greater
20%?
a greater
The 20%
percentage
that
than
they put in,
than
not
they-
the whole 100%?
Yeah.
Because they didn't pay 100%.
No, they only paid
20%.
So 20% of $3.5 million,
700,000.
so about $600,000-$700,000, which would.
That sounds more reasonable to me. If I'm going to give back to my employee, that savings that they did, they only did 20%. They didn't do 100%. They did 20%. And I appreciate they helped me the other 80% too, but I'm paying 80% of their insurance
Right. Do you have
and 80% of everything they get.
Okay.
What I do know is that our total pharmaceutical costs exceed $20 million. So this $1.5 million is certainly less than that.
that's great. But you know, the other thing I look at is big picture here. We don't do this for our state's attorneys, we're not doing it for our sheriff's department, we're not doing it for our employees here, because it's just not economically feasible for us to do it, because we're allocating that savings to other infrastructure projects and/or healthcare initiatives to make sure they stay healthy. So while I look at this, I have to say, you know, when we do our step increases and we do everything here, we're saying, okay, if we're going to do it for the schools, we're going to do it for the county employees, we're going to do it for the sheriff's department, we're going to do it for the state's attorneys and everybody else. But this one, I think we have to take a look at that and what the cost would be to the county. You know, I think in this budget process that you're going to realize somewhere down there that $1.5 million could have probably be better applied to one of your capital improvement projects or something else that you may have had there, looking at the overall budget and where we're going. So, yeah, people are there. I know they have the appreciation, but one of the things we do is we give people days off. And it is possible to do that. I know it is, you know, however you can do it, but
Yeah, that's a whole other story for them.
yeah, that's, I know it is. It's logistically there, but, you know.
I do
either
think we
way.
need to look at that particular formula of how you do that rebate, if you want to continue that.
And again,
And holiday.
as we bring this before the board and we brought it before you, this is a one-time opportunity with one-time money. And I do hear what you're saying. So are you saying that you would approve the budget as presented to you with the health insurance holiday, not $1.5 million, but $750,000? And then we would have to, then that other money would be, no matter what, I mean, I'd have to go back to the Board of Education, we'd have to rework the entire thing.
Well, the 750 is just a swag, right?
750 is what?
A swag. It's not, we know, this, you have 1.5 million, you say just cut it in half to 750, it's an ambiguous number. I mean, there's no math behind it except
Well,
for,
that would be an approximate 20% of the 3.5 that we got back in rebates. Assuming that there's an 80-20 split with our employees, then the 20%
Can Mr. McCord
would.
redo the math on that and get back with us with a good number?
Yeah,
I know it's close to what you're talking about, yeah.
That would allow for 2 healthcare holidays in the month of December.
if we were to continue this. I mean, the
So it's
biggest,
40%.
so,
Because you pay, right, it's 40%. So 120% would be one healthcare holiday.
right now it gives them 4.
Well, you're paying total
No,
20%
That's
over
based
12
on the
versus
$1.5 million.
20%
Right.
versus over,
this question is you give them 1 month free or 2 months free?
Right, right. And the larger question is, I mean, we went through, and it was a protracted and at the end of it, very collaborative opportunity to move from 15 to 20%. All right, and that had to be negotiated. And we're going to go into negotiations as well, and one of the things that we do is we bring goodwill with us, and we say that,
This
you
money you're
know,
giving back to them, is this considered to be income to them now?
This is goodwill.
it's
Goodwill.
a deferment of their payment, right? So they're not paying that amount. By the same token, I mean, you know, if you want parity between county government and SMCPS employees, then that's something we need to talk about from year to year. So if we do a COLA, you do a COLA. If you do a step, we do a step. If you're 1585, then we should be 1585. If we're 80/20, then you'd be 80/20. I mean, we can really go in lockstep. We put it out for RFP. We discussed all of this, and our employees moved to an 80/20 split. And so I'd like to provide every opportunity to reinforce the fact that that there's very goodwill. They had faith and confidence. We did that because we told them that money was tight, and this is the way we
I understand
made
all
it
that,
work.
but we didn't promise them a holiday each year.
We absolutely did not.
No?
We
And
absolutely did not.
simultaneously, when we can argue or discuss this, but, you know, the county employees are 12-month employees, and most of your employees are 9, 10-month employees, and so we can extrapolate and do the math all day long.
Right. Right. I mean, we can go back and forth. So where are we? This isn't approved and it's just taken back, and I'm to take this back to the board.
Okay, when do you need a decision on this now?
Well, I mean, I can't do anything with the fund balance that we currently have unless you approve the plan
Understand.
for the allocation of the fund balance.
Understand.
If you want to modify the plan as presented to you, then I have to go back to the Board of Education, and I have to re-present to them and have them then approve of whatever they would like to come back, then I have to come back to you again.
Or we can just make a motion to exclude the 1.5 million, and that's what you take back.
So that's what's done.
Yeah. And then you can come up with something else, because we don't need you to go back to the Board of Education to seek approval for us to approve something.
All right, that moves forward with just with the 1.5 excluded? Okay.
So I'm going to make a move to support the Board of Education request for the fiscal year 2020 categorical budget adjustment for the assignment of fund balance in the amount of $2.5 million, which will exclude the healthcare insurance holiday interfund transfer of $500,000 from CIP to operating. And if you guys can come back with a better idea for the 1.5, we're more than willing to listen.
I'll second.
I mean, right, no matter what, I have to go back to the board, and it'd be a great topic of discussion perhaps at our joint meeting on
Yes, it
December
will
3rd.
be. Okay.
I seconded.
I have a first and a second, and did we all get those changes? Did you get those changes? Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that I heard, I think, when Commissioner Morgan, you excluded the 1.5 healthcare holiday and the interfund transfer. You mean to include the interfund transfer?
I did include
So
the-
we're excluding and including, right?
Yeah, basically, instead of
Okay.
being 4.5 at the end of the day,
Yep.
it becomes 3.
Then reduced to
Okay,
4
right.
million to 2.5,
Right.
2,500,000, and the 500,000 CIP operating transfer.
Great.
300.
Thanks for
3 million.
clarification.
3 million total. Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner